The forbidden wilds of Thry'nox. The planet Thry'nox was a world of ancient silences and primal sounds, a place where the wind howled through canyons older than memory, and the thunder of distant beasts echoed like ancestral drums. Entire species thrived and died within its jungles, all under the watchful eye of orbiting satellites and distant scientists who observed but never intervened. At the heart of this untamed world roamed a creature known as the Zurragoth, the last of its kind. Standing nearly 3 stories tall, with dense obsidian scales and a crown of ridged horns, it was a relic of a brutal era. Even the apex predators gave it wide berth. The galactic community revered the Zurragoth, not out of love, but because of the raw, terrifying respect it commanded. Legends told of entire platoons falling to its wrath during early colonization attempts, and since then, a single rule had stood unchallenged. Do not interfere. That made what Dr. Eliza Marren was doing not only foolish, but borderline criminal. Eliza knelt in her lab, the dim green glow of her monitors casting her pale face in shadows. Her curly brown hair was pulled into a loose, practical bun, and her eyes, hidden behind thick glasses, were fixed on a live drone feed. The creature lumbered into frame, moving sluggishly through the ferns and vines of its territory. But it was the way it moved that gnawed at her. "It's not hunting," she whispered, more to herself than to her recording software. "It's limping." The other xenobiologists, all of them from older, more established species, had dismissed her observations during that morning's council briefing. "You're anthropomorphizing," said Dr. Call, the chitinous Hardhari lead. "The Zurragoth's behavior is within natural variance. Perhaps it's shedding or conserving energy." But Eliza had spent 3 months quietly logging patterns, even though it wasn't her assigned focus. In every recorded movement, every growl and roar, she saw something else: pain. And lately, its hunting attempts had ended in failure. Something was wrong. She reached for her handheld drone controller and brought up footage from earlier in the week. In one frame, when the Zurragoth had reared back to bellow, something flashed between its upper canines. It had taken her hours to isolate the clip, but now, there it was again. A white sliver, jagged, foreign, a bone, she murmured, heart pounding, lodged in its teeth. The realization chilled her. If it couldn't eat properly, it would grow weaker, starve, die, and no one would help it. Not the automated preserve systems, not the satellites, and certainly not the Xenoscientific Council who prided themselves on non-intervention. But Eliza Marren was human, and humans had a terrible habit of helping things they weren't supposed to. She packed lightly, just enough for a day trip. Her environmental suit, a satchel of diagnostic tools, a medkit, and a compact field laser. No weapons. Not that it would matter if the Zurragoth decided she was prey. The hike from the outer lab compound to the perimeter gate took hours, and her legs ached from the climb over moss-covered ridges and root-bound trails. Automated warnings flashed in her visor as she crossed into restricted territory, but she muted them. As the forest thickened, so did her doubts. "This is madness," she thought. "I'm a xenobiologist, not a vet, not a hero." Still, she pressed on. Dusk fell quickly in Thry'nox's equatorial belt. Shafts of dying sunlight filtered through the canopy like molten gold. She heard the beast before she saw it, a deep, guttural exhale that vibrated through the ground. Her fingers trembled as she crouched behind a boulder. And there it was. The Zurragoth lay beside a massive fallen tree, its enormous body heaving. Flies buzzed near its maw. Saliva pooled on the ferns beneath its head. Its amber eyes were glassy, unfocused. It looked tired. No, it looked defeated. Eliza stepped into view. Her boots snapped a twig. The Zurragoth's eyes snapped to her. It rose halfway, a rumble building in its chest. Teeth the size of kitchen knives glinted in the gloom. It roared, a thunderous sound that shook the trees. Eliza didn't run. She slowly removed her helmet and raised her hands. "I'm not here to hurt you," she whispered. I think you're in pain." The beast's breathing slowed. Its mouth opened halfway, and there it was. A jagged femur or tusk fragment jammed sideways between two molars, inflaming the surrounding gums. It was starving, and for the first time in its life, it couldn't fix it alone. Eliza's throat was dry. Her limbs shook, but she took a step forward. Then another. The beast and the bone. The Zurragoth didn't move. Its immense head remained angled toward Eliza, a mountain of muscle and scale looming in the twilight. Every survival instinct in her screamed to run, but she forced herself to breathe slowly, evenly. If she bolted, she wouldn't make it 10 steps. But if she stayed calm, if she approached like she would any frightened animal, maybe she'd walk out of this alive. Her voice came out quiet, shaking slightly. "It's okay. I just want to help." The beast exhaled through flared nostrils, steam puffing from its maw like a furnace in winter. A fly buzzed past Eliza's ear. She didn't swat it. Any sudden motion might be taken as a threat. She took another careful step forward, boots crunching softly over leaf mulch. Closer now, she could see it better. The inflamed gum line. The streaks of old blood. The way its lower jaw trembled. The bone, likely from a previous kill, was lodged between two massive molars. Every attempt to chew or growl must have sent lances of pain through its skull. It was no wonder it had stopped hunting. No wonder it had let her come this close. Her fingers hovered near the satchel strapped to her hip. She slowly unzipped it and pulled out a small medical scanner, designed for field triage in alien biospheres. The device chirped softly as it analyzed the tissue from a distance. "Infection's begun," she muttered. "Gum necrosis hasn't set in yet, but give it another few days, and—" She stopped herself. The Zurragoth didn't care about diagnoses. It needed relief, and she was the only one willing to give it. She scanned its face, no movement. It was watching her, golden eyes unreadable but not hostile. Its massive head dipped a few centimeters lower, mouth parting wider. Eliza swallowed. That looked like permission. Hands trembling, she reached into her satchel again and pulled out the field laser, a low-wattage precision tool used for cutting through vines and stubborn xenoplastic roots. It was the only thing she had with the fine control and power to reach in without applying physical force. She crouched near its jaw, so close now she could smell the creature, musky and metallic like scorched copper and damp stone. Her gloved fingers guided the laser forward. One wrong angle, one surge of pain, one reflexive snap, and she'd be gone. "Okay," she whispered to herself, just like a giant, terrifying, saber-toothed lion. The laser hissed as it met bone. A small puff of smoke rose, and the Zurragoth's head twitched. "Easy," she breathed. "Just another second." The bone fragment cracked. She adjusted her angle and sliced the rest free. It tumbled out with a wet thunk, landing in the grass beside her boot. She could hardly believe it. She backed away slowly, holding her breath. The Zurragoth didn't roar. It didn't lunge. Instead, it made a low, rattling sound in its throat. Not a growl. Not a threat. A purr? Eliza blinked in disbelief as the creature slowly, carefully lowered its head to the ground. Its massive eye closed, and its entire body deflated with a sigh so deep it rippled the trees. It was resting. Relief flooded through her so quickly she nearly collapsed. She sat heavily on a mossy log nearby, staring at the beast. The laser still trembled in her hand. For a few long moments, neither of them moved. Then Eliza leaned forward, scanning the jaw again with her device. Swelling was already going down. The blood vessels no longer pulsed with the same angry inflammation. The Zurragoth would heal now. "I can't believe that worked," she said aloud, her voice light with stunned laughter. "You let me help you." The beast shifted slightly, one golden eye cracking open. It stared at her. "You knew," she said. "You knew something was wrong. You just didn't know how to ask." She remained near the beast for hours, documenting what she could. As the night deepened, she wrapped herself in a thermal blanket and dozed in the safety of a tree hollow, never fully asleep, always alert. But the Zurragoth didn't leave. In the morning, she found it standing silently a few meters away, watching her pack up her gear. Its mouth opened briefly, testing the motion, she assumed, before it gave a low grunt and turned toward the forest. Eliza expected it to vanish into the underbrush, returning to its solitary, ancient existence. Instead, it took a few steps, paused, and looked back at her. Waiting. Eliza hesitated. "You want me to follow?" The Zurragoth gave a soft huff, then continued walking. Not fast, just enough that she could keep up. The forest swallowed them both in green light. Trust forged in pain. Eliza never imagined her life would depend on keeping pace with a creature whose stride could crush trees. The Zurragoth moved with surprising grace for something its size. Its broad, clawed feet padded softly over the forest floor, disturbing little as it passed. It didn't roar, didn't hunt. It simply walked, occasionally glancing over its shoulder to ensure Eliza was still there. She followed, breath measured, gear light on her back. There was no plan, only instinct. The kind of reckless human impulse her alien colleagues mocked. The need to understand, to connect, to help. After an hour's journey deeper into the jungle, the creature led her to a clearing, a sun-drenched oasis where towering fungal trees arched like cathedral spires. In the center lay a shallow spring fed by mineral-rich stones. The Zurragoth approached it with slow, reverent steps, lowered itself to the edge, and began to drink. Eliza stood at the edge of the clearing, awestruck. She had never seen this place on any of the orbital scans or drone maps. Was it deliberately hidden? Or simply considered too remote, too wild? The Zurragoth didn't seem surprised by it. This was its sanctuary. "You wanted me to see this," she murmured, stepping forward. She set down her pack, pulled out a nutrient bar, and chewed quietly while observing. The creature didn't mind her presence. It even stretched out beside the spring, massive tail curling like a sleeping dog's. The wound in its mouth had stopped bleeding entirely. In the daylight, she could see it was healing fast, its alien biology kicking into overdrive once the obstruction was gone. "I should report this," she said aloud, voice barely above a whisper. "Log the new location, submit the scans, notify the council." But she didn't reach for her comm. Not yet. Instead, Eliza moved to the edge of the water and gently removed her boots, dipping her tired feet into the cool spring. The Zurragotha's head lifted slightly at the motion, but it didn't rise. Its amber eye met hers, and in that unspoken moment, she understood. It didn't just tolerate her. It trusted her. Over the next 2 days, Eliza camped near the spring. She set up a basic field shelter, kept her movements slow and deliberate, and shared her rations, tossing synthetic protein packs into the clearing. To her surprise, the Zurragoth sniffed them, tested them with its tongue, and consumed them with surprising delicacy. It didn't seem to require much food. Perhaps the pain had reduced its metabolism to a crawl, or perhaps it had evolved to survive on minimal intake. Each morning, the beast allowed her to scan it more thoroughly. She noted deep scar tissue across its flank, likely from territorial battles centuries ago, and minor parasites in its hide. She logged its vitals, movements, resting periods. It tolerated all of it, so long as she stayed respectful. On the third morning, something changed. Eliza was examining a dermal abrasion near the creature's jawline when a shrill cry echoed through the jungle. High-pitched, fast-moving, predatory. The Zurragoth tensed instantly. It rose to its full height, nostrils flaring. "What's that?" Eliza whispered, reaching for a scanner. A second cry. Closer. Something tore through the treeline. A quadruped, lean and wiry, with bone-colored plating and hook-like claws. It moved with blistering speed, mouth unhinged in a shriek. A Scarn vulture hound, one of the jungle's deadliest scavengers. Aggressive, cunning, and known for targeting weakened prey. It lunged at Eliza. She barely had time to scream before a black blur intercepted the beast mid-air. The Zurragoth crashed into it like a living boulder, snarling with primal fury. The vulture hound tumbled into a tree trunk and rebounded, scrambling to flee, but it was too late. The Zurragoth slammed it down with one massive paw and bit clean through its midsection. Silence returned to the jungle. Eliza remained frozen, heart pounding, watching as blood dripped from the Zurragotha's maw. It turned toward her, then gently lowered its head, as if to say, "You're safe now." She exhaled. Slow, shaky. You protected me." It had no words, no translator chip, but she understood just the same. The bond between them wasn't imagined. It was real, and it was powerful. Later, she sat beside the beast as it rested again at the spring, the dead scavenger left untouched nearby. "I was wrong," she said softly. "You're not just some apex predator. You're intelligent, sentient, maybe even sapient. You made a choice to help me." She hesitated, then added, "They won't understand that. Not first, but they will." Eliza knew then that her presence here wasn't just a moment of compassion. It was the beginning of something much bigger. The Zurragoth was no longer a mindless beast to be studied from afar. It was a person, one who had suffered, endured, and reached out for help when it needed it most. And now it had a friend, humanity's gentle touch. Eliza stood at the edge of the clearing, looking toward the sky where the clouds rippled like waves across Thry'nox's pale, blue horizon. Her fingers hovered over the transmitter clipped to her belt. One press, and she could summon a dropship. One press, and this quiet sanctuary would be on every scientist's radar within a day. She hadn't called it in. Not yet. The Zurragoth was still sleeping beside the spring, curled like a dragon from old Earth legends. Its breathing was calm, rhythmic. The wound in its mouth had almost fully closed, and the swelling had gone. Its appetite had returned. Its strength was coming back. But something else had changed, something in its demeanor. It didn't just watch her now. It listened. When she spoke, it tilted its head like it understood the tone. When she laughed, it chuffed softly, as if echoing her amusement. It had become more than a beast. It had become someone. Eliza stared down at her calm. "They're not ready," she whispered. The other xenobiologists wouldn't understand. They would descend in drones, cages, and assumptions. They'd tag the Zurragoth as a specimen. A marvel, yes, but not a being. Not the way she now saw it. And it wasn't just about empathy. It was about what it meant to be human. Eliza took out her tablet and began to type. Not a report, not a scientific log. A letter to the Interstellar Xenobiology Council. "I know what you're expecting. Scans, data, charts. I have all those things. I can send them if you ask. But before I do, I need you to understand something. The Zurragoth is not what we thought. It is not merely a predator, nor a relic. It is aware. It feels pain, fear, and trust. It accepted my help. It protected me in return. That is not instinct. That is choice. And if we treat it like a thing, we will lose something irreplaceable. I am asking, no, begging, you to let this remain sacred ground. Let this creature live as it has always lived, now with the memory that one of us extended a hand instead of blade. Let humanity be remembered as the species that listened." Dr. Eliza Marren. She saved the message, but didn't send it yet. Not until she had one more conversation. Later that evening, Eliza approached the Zurragoth as it stirred. Its golden eyes opened slowly, glinting in the firelight she'd kindled with a few dry branches. "Hey," she said gently, crouching beside its head. "I think it's time." The creature blinked slowly. "I have to go back," she continued, "to the research outpost. I have to tell them what happened, but I'll protect you. I swear. No cages. No labs." The Zurragoth lifted its head and made a low, vibrating hum in its chest. Eliza wasn't sure what it meant, but it didn't feel like sadness. If anything, it felt like acknowledgement. "You'll be okay now," she said. "I just wanted you to know. I'm not leaving because I want to. I'm leaving because they need to hear the truth. From me." She hesitated, then reached out. Her hand rested gently on the side of its massive jaw. The creature didn't flinch. It leaned into her touch. A breath caught in her throat. No one would ever believe it. Not really. They'd say she was projecting, that humans were emotional, that she saw things that weren't there. But she knew the truth. And so did he. The hike back to the outpost was long. She traveled in silence, heart heavy and full all at once. Every step away from the Zurragoth felt wrong, but necessary. She reached the perimeter gate by nightfall. As it closed behind her, her comm chirped. A message from DR Call. Dr. Marren, we've noticed your field signal went dark for over 70 hours. This is a breach of protocol. Return to base for debrief immediately. She didn't reply. Instead, she sat on the steps of the outpost, turned her face to the stars, and finally sent the letter. Then she added the data, the scans, the footage of the bone extraction, the vulture hound attack, everything. But at the top of the file, she added one final note. Do not send drones. Do not interfere. If we are worthy, he will come to US. Weeks passed. The council debated, argued, filed petitions. Some wanted to extract DNA samples. Others demanded a capture mission. But Eliza's testimony stirred something deep in the galactic community, something rare and powerful. Respect. They voted to leave the region untouched. And just when she thought she might never see him again, the proximity alert sounded. Eliza sprinted outside. There, at the edge of the forest, stood the Zurragoth, silent, proud, and no longer in pain. He had come to visit her, and behind him, just visible in the trees, were two smaller shapes. Cubs. She gasped. You weren't the last. The Zurragoth stared at her, and then, ever so gently, he bowed. Not low, just enough to show her what she already knew. Then the galaxy ruled by science and fear, it was a shy little human who reminded them all how powerful compassion could be.